Whether you aspire to become a videographer or just want to know how to shoot professional-looking videos, you need more than good equipment. Mastering several basic video tips will ease the frustration many videographers experience. Before long, the standard tricks will become so routine that you'll be able to concentrate on creativity and not just the basics. Hi, I'm Jim Costa. I'm a videography, photography, and technology guru, and I created this blog to help you to become a tech-savvy senior. My tips and advice are useful to anyone, but my specific focus is in helping seniors to become more familiar with technology to improve and better their lives. So what's my first tip? Number one is shooting steady video. A tripod is an easy answer to producing steady video, but avoid becoming dependent on it. You can shoot steady video without lugging around a lot of gear. Get your body in a position so that every breath you take doesn't lead to unwanted camera motion. If you're hand holding a camera, you can use the ground, a wall, or another object to brace the camera and get an interesting visual perspective if you don't want to hand hold it. For example, you can put it on the ground to shoot. By ditching the tripod, you can move around a scene without being anchored to one spot. But you want to be careful that when you're holding it, that the camera's not going like this, you're going to make your people dizzy. So, if you can't use a tripod or you don't want to, get used to holding it very steady by leaning yourself either against a wall or a pole or something so the camera stays nice and still, or using other objects such as a stack of books or a desk or something to keep your camera nice and steady and flat, and your video will be much improved over the average person. I'll give you a pro tip. If you've ever taken any photographs, you know that they're still, they don't move. So, a photographer is the one who moves to get the best picture. But in video, the subject moves. Whatever you're shooting, in other words, is what's moving. So the camera needs to stay still and the videographer needs to stay still because the subject is moving within the frame, which is the reverse of what the photographer does. Because the subject is still in the frame and not moving, it's the photographer who moves. So if you keep that in mind, that simple tip will give you better video almost all the time. Tip number two is to produce creative shots. Producing interesting videos involves learning creative shooting techniques. You don't want your videos to look as though they came from a surveillance camera. A beginner tends to shoot everything from the corner of the room away from the action. By putting yourself in the middle of what's happening, you'll get images and videos that aren't possible from a distance. Experiment with different angles by shooting above or below your subjects to get a different perspective than you're normally shooting. Most people, quite honestly, stand in one spot, they hold their camera up right in front of them, and it's always at eye level. You want to avoid this. The most interesting videos you can shoot are when you either go down on the ground or up above to get a different perspective of your subject. So move around. If you're shooting when your grandchildren, for example, or a child, go down to their level. Go down low, and the camera will show what the child sees. Or if you're shooting your pets, get down on the ground, or go up to the second floor and shoot down if you can. The idea is to not stand in the same spot and always shoot in the same way that you always do. If you're 6 feet tall like I am, if I did this all the time, every video would be from eye level, like 5.5 feet off the ground. So don't do that. Try different angles and different positions to give yourself a more interesting video. Tip number three is avoid unnecessary zooms and pans. Picking up a camcorder for the first time has just about everyone wanting to hit the zoom button on every shot while panning across the horizon. The result can leave your viewers seasick. If you're recording an action scene, let the motion that's happening naturally dominate your video, like I said earlier. Stop yourself from adding in random zooms and pans which distract from the action if they're not necessary. Make sure that there's a reason you're zooming or panning. At a sporting event, for example, a professional videographer will follow the action by following the ball. That's the motivation behind tilting the camera up when a baseball player hits a fly ball, or panning from, say, first base to second base during a double play. Tip number 4 is get good results when shooting outdoors. You'd think outdoor videography would be simple because the sun provides a lot of light, but you get the best outdoor results by watching the position of the sun closely. You always want to shoot with the sun or whatever your main light source is at your back, behind you. If you're recording people, for example, they may complain about looking directly into the sun, but tell them that the shots you'll get will be much better if you were shooting with the sun on their face than behind them, because it puts them in silhouette, becomes backlit. Now, if this is all making sense to you, go ahead and put tech-savvy seniors in the comment section below. Tip number 5 is to prepare for indoor shooting. Ignoring lighting when you're shooting indoors can make your videos look too dark. That's why indoor video shoots require additional preparation than when you're shooting outside. Additional lights are ideal, but if that's not possible, check out the available lighting sources. If you're shooting video of people, get as much light on their faces as possible by shooting near a window, for example. But again, with the window, because it's your light source, behind you. Don't be fooled by overhead lights. While they may be bright, they're only lighting up the tops of people's heads and not their faces, leaving shadows on their faces. So be very careful and cognizant of that. In fact, a very good tip I can give you is very simple. If it doesn't look good to you in the viewfinder, it doesn't look good in the video. So try to avoid that. Use your judgment. If it looks wrong, chances are it is wrong. Tip number 6 is to position lights for the look that you want. Now, using television lights will give your videos a crisper look, but good lighting involves more than just blasting your subject with as much wattage as you can find. Knowing where to position lights makes all the difference in getting a natural effect versus making people look as though they're about to undergo surgery. Besides a standard 3-point light setup, which I'll describe in another video in detail, but basically a 3-point lighting is one light directly on the subject plus a backlight to light up their head plus a fill light on the other side. You can experiment with lights, if you have them, to get different effects. Try turning out all the lights in a room and only use your equipment to highlight what you want. For example, the light from your cell phone can give you a dramatic effect, or a candle placed close by the person can, if the settings are right, give you enough light to shoot, but give you a very dramatic scene. Tip number 7 is to compose creative interviews. Now, at some point, you're going to want to shoot video of a person talking into the camera, much like I'm doing right now. It could be a sit-down interview or just a conversation with a person on the street. Plan the interview shoot to deliver professional results. So what do I mean? We'll consider the background, for example. If you're talking to someone about traffic in the neighborhood, you want to show cars in the distance on your screen. If you're interviewing a father about the day his child was born, put him in a cozy setting, like near the fireplace, maybe have an image of the child in the scene. Then you also want to decide how tight you want to shoot the interview. The reason you want to consider how tight to shoot the interview is that really sends a dramatic message to the viewer. So there's a standard sort of head and shoulders look, but you may want to interview a farmer, for example, on his tractor with a very wide shot showing all of the tractor, for example. A highly emotional interview should be shot tight so that you can see into the person's eyes. Now, I'll give you another pro tip here. If ever you're watching 60 Minutes, you know the show, it's on Sunday nights, you can always tell who 60 Minutes thinks is the bad guy. Why? Because they shoot the interview very tight, almost just their head showing. And the reason is, it makes, when they're looking back and forth and nervous, the eyes are shifting back and forth, and it sends the signal to you, the viewer, subliminally, that this guy is guy's shifty-eyed and he's suspicious. So how you shoot an interview really depends on the framing. So you have to take all these things into consideration. And when you understand them, you'll actually watch interviews on the news or elsewhere differently than you would in the past, because you'll understand the message that they're trying to convey. Tip number 8 is to remember to capture good sound. While capturing compelling video, don't forget that good audio is a must. Otherwise, your video will turn out to be useless. The two most common mistakes people make are to forget to record audio and to fail to monitor the sound that you're getting. Forgetting to record audio means a child's birthday party is silent, for example. You may be able to see the other children singing and laughing, but without hearing happy birthday being sung, the video is ruined. Monitoring the sound helps you avoid recording unwanted audio that can happen that you don't notice. This can happen, for example, when you interview someone and don't notice that they're standing next to, say, a loud air conditioner or a fan. When you watch the video later, all you hear is the hum of the fan or the AC unit, which drowns out what the person is saying. So my advice in this case is to always wear headphones so you can monitor the sound that's being recorded. You'll be surprised at how much of a difference good audio makes to improve the quality of your videos. If you found the information I provided in this video useful, please like it, comment below, share it, and remember to subscribe to my channel, Jim Costa Films. If you would like more information on becoming a tech-savvy senior or to see other videos and photos, you can connect with me by looking for Jim Costa Films on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and online. I currently have over 4,100 videos on my YouTube channel, Jim Costa Films, so feel free to check it out and see many of my other videos, including a ton of videos on improving your photography and videography skills. Now, I also have a new Facebook group as well called Video Producers and Content Creators, so look for that on Facebook to connect there, join the group, and get even more pro tips and tricks.